and to find out, from an email from somebody saying, hey, your web page looks like crap because you got all these broken image links, it can be embarrassing. So to avoid that, do it this way in the beginning, and that way you can get accustomed to it and you'll feel that much more comfortable. So let's go ahead, and I want to introduce you to a few more tags, because basically the tag we're looking at here, I'm going to go down here just to show you, is the image source tag, and that's this right here. You've got the image, as you can see right here, the IMG, then you got a space, SRC, equal sign, and then your double quotes. Here's the double quote here. Then you've got the actual location of your image. Then you got the closing double quote here. Now actually, this is kind of screwy because I don't have the closing tag in there. Alright, excuse me, there's not so much a closing tag, but the closing angle. And yet it still works. Amazing. You probably would not have passed the W3C validation, but that's a different topic altogether. Okay, so, and if you notice also, the image tag does not have a closing tag. There's no IMG like this guy here is a closing tag for HTML. There's no closing tag for the image tag. That's it. Just got the beginning here. Now then, what this is here is just the closing tag for that table or that cell. That's what that is. And along with this, there are several attributes you can toss in here to add a little bit more to your image. You can specify the size. You can specify the alignment. If you've got some text in there, let's say, for example, I want to put in, and let's control, okay, I want to comment this out. Now what I'm doing here is I'm commenting this out basically so it doesn't show up. I don't believe it'll show up anyway. It works okay in the movies. And let's go ahead and Control S to save this and go to our web page and see what it looks like. Let's refresh. This is some text. Okay, so I can't spell. But if you wanted to align this to where maybe this text comes down to the bottom or comes on top of the image or to the left or to the right of it, well, there's an alignment attribute that you can toss in there. And where we at here, you can put in, basically what you're doing at this point is aligning the image, not so much the text. So here you can put a space and the attribute. In this case, we're going to go with align equals, got our double quotes, backspace, RIGHT. And got to make sure that it's within its own quotes here and that it's on the left hand side of this closing angle bracket. So let us Control S this, that be save, and see what we got. And let's refresh it. See, we're way over here now. So we align this to the right. And you can do baseline, top, middle, left, right, and depending upon how much text you got would depend on which one of those items you would best be suited to use, for whatever situation you've got. Another cool thing is what they call alternate text, or the ALT attribute. Let me pull this up here. And what this does, the alt tag or alt attribute, is it adds a little bit of text behind the scenes. You can't see it, but if for some reason you have screwed up image or wherever you got the image hosted at kind of crashes and burns, it doesn't work anywhere, then what they'll see is, rather than a blank image, they'll see this text. And I can put in here mind-blowing smiley face, and that way you won't just get a blank piece of paper or a blank web page, you'll have the text showing up there. And another thing about the alt attribute that I understand, could be wrong, but I understand to be true, is that it can also help with search engines identifying and categorizing your particular web page. If every one of your images has an alt text tag or an alt text attribute, say that 3 times fast, then it will again help out the search engines to better categorize your page. It'll know what the image is about, and if that image, by the way, if the alt text in there has some keyword type relationship to the description in your meta tags, it may definitely help out. So keep that in mind. Another attribute is maybe you want to define the width and height. You can put in, and by the way, this doesn't have to have any text in there, it can just be in there. It's not going to mess anything up. But as far as the width and height, just as you can see here, you want to have a space between the last attribute and the beginning of the new attribute. So we put a space here, and HEIGHT equals 2 double quotes, and within those double quotes, put whatever number you want it to be as far as the height. Now, of course, it should be the same height as the properties spell it out. In other words, whatever the height of the image is, that's what it should say in here. You may not need this. Again, as you can see from my image, that I don't have the height or the width tag in there, and yet the mind-blowing smiley comes up just fine. So if you put the dimension attribute tag in there, then you're just spelling it out. And of course that would come in handy in certain instances. In this case, it works fine just without it. You might want to also put a border around this. Again, this is pretty easy. The attribute tag is simply named border, B-O-R-D-E-R, equals, the double quotes. Put in the number of pixels you would want that border to be. Okay, well, you got the idea about the height, and you can just keep these attributes going all the way down. I mean, it'll scroll around, but you got the height, you got the width, and in this case, we're going to put in a border equals 6. Sounds good. And we will then Control S or save that. Come on back here, refresh it, and there's our 6-pixel border width. Okay, his mind's really blowing now because he's all cooped up inside of there. Now, you can also make this clickable. Just as we had talked about in our prior video as far as dealing with the href, what I call the ahref tag, you can put that in there on either side of your image attribute here. For example, look on this side of the image attribute, we would put the ahref tag, a space href equals double quotes, and then inside of the double quotes we will put the URL as to where you want it to go once somebody clicks on your image. http://google.com, and then there, closing. And now then at the end of all of our attributes and all that stuff for our image, because we don't want to include this is some text in that clickability, if you will. But right here, we want to put the closing tag for our clickable link. That's the ahref, and that is the /a closing angle bracket right here. Okay, so let's save this, Control S, get on back over here, refresh, and now as you can see down here in our status bar, click on that and it should take us to Google. Now of course you can also, as you noticed, whenever I click hold, the attributes that we had on there before as far as the how to treat a link, it makes it invisible once it's been clicked on, or not so much invisible, but it gives it a white background once it's already been clicked on, and then whenever you are activating it, it turns it blue, if you recall that from the prior video. Well, those attributes hold true as well. So again, there's all kinds of cool stuff you can do with that. Remember, right here is our link attributes to tell the browser how to treat a link. Well, this image is now a link, and this holds true for our image as well as any text clickable links. There's just so much stuff that you can do with this HTML stuff. It's just so cool. And by doing it the hand coding way, the old-fashioned way, if you will, you have a lot more flexibility. You're not bound by what some piece of software like a Dreamweaver or Front Page or a Composer will do for you. Granted, yes, I think they definitely have their place. They're a whole lot easier, but once you get your hands dirty and you start getting down into this hand coding, you just get excited, and you tend to almost forget how to use the Front Pages or how to use the Dreamweavers. One other thing too that I wanted to mention before we cut this thing off is the mapping of the images. If you were to do a Google search, and I'm not going to go into it because it's pretty long and drawn out, but do you a Google search on image mapping, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. It is pretty cool. You can put hotspots on your images, just like I talked about in a prior video series on video marketing, where you can put clickable hotspots on your videos. Same here, you can put clickable hotspots on your images, where, for example, if you've got an image of a U.S. flag, you can put a clickable hotspot on there to where somebody clicks on the flag and starts playing the national anthem. Yeah, how cool is that? So anyway, hope you got some ideas from this, but I hope that you enjoy this as much as I do teaching it to you. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great